Your life is a mess, bro. You always forget your homework, miss your deadlines. How do you expect to make progress in life when you're so disorganized? Now imagine the best version of yourself. He always remembers everything and never misses deadlines, which is why his business is so successful. If there only was a way you could become as organized as him. I hate disorganized people who think it's because of their personality, and that's because in the past I used to be just like them. You see, when I was younger, I would always forget everything, and that would drive my dad crazy. We've had a very good relationship in general, but we never lived together. That's why every time we went to a swimming pool, and each time I would forget my swimming pants, we would have to go back to my house, which was like an hour of wasted time. So it was not weird for him to get mad after the same thing happened for 10th time in a row, and he always told me to write the things I have to remember down, but I never did. And I remember vividly one time when he wanted me to help him finish his apartment because I had some tools at home which he didn't, and as expected, when he picked me up and we arrived at his apartment, I forgot to take the tools. I remember that one time, instead of getting mad or trying to teach me a lesson, his voice got pretty disappointed and he asked me, "Why is it that whenever you ask me for help, I am always there for you, but whenever I need your help, you are never there for me?" And guess what was my reaction back then? I blamed it on my bad memory. And bro, I hate myself so much for being such a brainwashed, blue-pilled kid. Instead of taking responsibility for the fact that I never tried to do anything to improve my organization or memory, like all the weak, blue-pilled, modern people with green hair, I made myself a victim and said that it was not my fault, it was just my personality. But luckily I grew up. As I got older, I started taking responsibility for my actions, and when I read David Goggins' book, Can't Hurt Me, I found a message that really got into my head. David Goggins said that instead of your phone being a distraction, you should use it as a tool, because a computer is always more powerful and organized than your brain. And that's when I discovered the idea of a second brain. The easiest way to explain what a second brain is to say that it is a digital extension of your mind. Because while your memory is temporary, your computers and phones is not. So what you write down in there will never disappear. You're definitely familiar with a situation when you read a book and you see a very nice quote there and you want to remember it, and of course you forget it the next day, but your second brain will never forget it, because it is a permanent storage for your ideas, for the quotes you like, for your projects and everything else that you can imagine. And the main reason it is called a brain and not just like a separate storage is because it is always there with you. You know, at school you always write down different things in your notebook, but when was the last time when you carried your notebook when you went out to hang out with your friends? It never happened. On the other hand, you always carry your phone with you, and that is going to be your second brain. The moment I developed and actually started using this system, I began to remember 99% of the things that I have to remember. I no longer miss my deadlines, I no longer forget my tasks and quotes, and I no longer forget my homework, given that I want to do it. And you may think, second brain on your phone? You already have your notes. Yeah, but if you have your organization systems, but you're still not organized, then it means that your systems don't work. And if you think that developing such a second brain and writing everything down is time consuming, then let me tell you that Brian Tracy said, every minute you spend planning, in this case, preparing, saves 10 minutes in execution. So what this means is that you get a 10 times return on your investment. So what you're gonna have to do now is find your second brain app. And it is not difficult. It could literally be your notes app on your phone, but I would recommend you to use something more advanced with more features. And what I personally use is Notion, and it is not sponsored. It is truly a great software, which is completely free, which is what I would encourage you to download and choose, because it is synced with your PC and with your phone, and that is what you want with your second brain. So an actionable step for you right now is to pause the video, go to Notion website and download the app right now. And if you've got that, I'm now going to show you how you can set up your second brain. What you want to do is create 3 categories in your Notion's workspace: work, growth, and personal life. We're gonna start with the work page. That is where you're going to have your business, your job, your school, and everything else that counts as work. The most important part of my work tab is YouTube. Whenever I open that page, I see all the video ideas I've got, I see all the projects I've made in the past, and the video that I'm working on currently. What you can see when you look at my video ideas is that I've got all sorts of random things written in there. And that's because whenever I come up with a video idea throughout the day, I just grab my phone, write it down, and then when I want to make a video, I go through these ideas and choose the one I like the most. That way I make sure that I never forget my ideas and I always have them whenever I need them. Some more important parts of my work catalog are product pages, coaching pages, and what that allows me to do is whenever I sit at school and we're all basically wasting time in there, I can always just pick up my phone and instead of just sitting around and not doing anything, I can always write my next coaching lesson and prepare for that instead of spending the time that I could actually work on my YouTube channel. And the reason why I think Notion is the best is because whenever I write something down on my phone, I immediately have it on my PC in the same format. So whenever I'm writing something for my website on my phone, I can easily access it on my computer without having to copy and paste it through different apps. And speaking of my website, I have just updated it and it has one new product, my signature LUTs. So if you want your videos to look as cinematic as mine with just a few clicks and without years of learning color grading, then check out the first link in the description right now. And now we're gonna talk about the growth tab. This is where I keep all my goals. I have my whole separate goals page written down, sorted monthly and yearly. I also have it set as one of my favorite pages in Notion. That way I get a goals widget on my phone's home screen and I make sure that I never forget about my goals and that I look at them every single day. Other useful pages in my growth catalog are my routines, habit trackers, to-do lists. That way I don't have to handle all the mess I would have on my desk if I had all the papers with habit trackers and routines laying around in here.
Damn, is that you?
But what I consider the most valuable part of my second brain that will serve me for years and hopefully for decades is my knowledge page. There I store all the knowledge I gained from books, from courses, and even from YouTube videos. Because let's be honest, all this time when you've been watching self-improvement videos, you had never written anything down. And now imagine how much smarter, wiser, and how much more experienced you would be if you had written all those things down. All the things in this video, all the things in my other videos, all the things in other YouTubers' videos, if you had written them down and looked at them once in a while. Imagine how much smarter you would be. And it's not just about the videos, obviously. It's mostly about books and courses you take. Because let me ask you to recall 5 principles from the last book you've read. You probably got the main idea of it, but you can't recall even 5 principles. However, if you ask me that, I may not remember off the top of my head, but I can always pull up the book in my second brain, read what I've got there, and in case I need it for a video, just like I did with the Can't Hurt Me David Goggins' book, I can always write it in my script and talk about it in a video. And just think of how powerful that is and how much money it can make you when you get all the knowledge that you consume over the years of your self-improvement journey and then sell that to someone else. Think of how big of a price you can put on that. Years of wisdom in just a small pill, in a course or in a coaching call. Think of how much money you can make from that. That is why you have to write everything down. And the last catalog of your second brain is going to be personalized. And what I have there is data that I can never get off the top of my head, like my Wi-Fi password, like my suit size, and all the other stuff that's not important on a daily basis. But the page I use the most from my personal life catalog is packing for trips. Because just think of how many times it happened that you were stressed because you were not sure if you packed everything for your trip. The easiest solution to that is to write a page called Packing for Trips, where you write down everything that you gotta take on every single one of your trips and then just check everything when you put it in your bag. And that's how you're not only going to reduce the stress you always have with packing for trips, but you're also going to do it way faster. Bro, I always pack like in an hour, literally the same morning that I depart. Think of how cool that is. And now, so that you've got an overall idea of what should be in your second brain, here's the second actionable step for you, is to create those 3 sections: work, growth, and personal life, literally right now, so that you can then fill them up later whenever you get an idea in your head. If you don't do it right now, you may come up with a great video idea later and be like, oh, but I don't feel like writing it down because I didn't set up my Notion yet. But if you do it now, you're gonna have everything ready to function with 2 brains. And okay, that's the permanent memory. But what about the part of not missing deadlines and remembering everything? Well, here's the more important part of creating a second brain, and it is adjusting it so that it always reminds you of everything. Listen, I don't blame you for not remembering everything. We're not perfect, nobody is. I've had the same problem literally just a few years ago. The only thing we can do to improve our memory short term is to use tools like our phones to remember for us. And there are 2 ways you can do that. The first way is using a calendar and setting tasks and reminders in there. There is something like a Notion calendar. I don't know, I've never used that. It's a new feature. What I use is just my iPhone calendar and it works. Just as Goggins said, you just gotta start using your phone as a tool. So get that calendar app, set tasks there, set reminders. Make sure to put like 2 or 3 reminders on the same task if needed. That's what I do. But if you wanna make the reminders way more powerful, instead of just setting normal notifications that you can always skip, you can set alarms. And that is something I've learned from my physics teacher. He will always set alarms, even in the middle of the lesson, because that was something that reminded him that he was supposed to tell us something. And it is a very intelligent strategy. Because while you may miss or even ignore a notification, you will never miss an alarm. So just imagine you have a very important call at 4 p.m. Instead of setting a notification that you may miss, instead set an alarm for 3:45, and that way you're going to make sure that you will not miss the call. Never. And you've got my word for that. Because even though I understand that you cannot control the internal factors, you can control the external factors and the tools that you use to remind yourself of the important tasks. As you can also see in my background, I went next level with my second brain because I know that my brain does not want to remember things, so I just write everything down on my wall. So here's the full plan of actions that I want you to take after finishing this video. Choose and download your second brain app on both your PC and your phone. My recommendation would be Notion. Structure it for every part of your life. So that's going to be work, growth, and personal life. Step number 3 is going to be make it accessible. So put a widget with your favorite page on your phone's home screen. Put Notion on your computer's taskbar. Make sure to always see your second brain app. And step number 4 is going to be start setting reminders in your calendar or alarms to never miss your deadlines. The quote of the day is going to be 2 heads are better than 1. So now you've got 2 brains. And because of that, I hope that you will never forget to leave a like under my video. If I managed to teach you something new today, then consider subscribing and make sure to check out my new website right now. See ya!